chosen one. You are not here by accident, and this moment did not find you randomly. Before you pressed play, heaven already marked this second as an appointment with your name written on it. What drew you here was not curiosity, it was alignment. Divine timing has converged, and your spirit recognized the signal before your mind could explain it. Anointed one, hear this carefully. You are standing at the edge of a supernatural unveiling. What has been hidden in plain sight is about to be revealed. What was misunderstood, misrepresented, or ignored is now coming into clarity. This is not ordinary teaching. This is ancient wisdom unlocking modern breakthrough. This is heaven exposing truths that activate provision, stewardship, and multiplication. For too long, you may have been taught that faith and wealth cannot coexist, but the Word declares otherwise. As it is written in Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 18, it is the Lord who gives the power to produce wealth, not for pride, but for covenant purpose and impact. That power is awakening in you now. Chosen one, this is a sacred moment. You are being prepared for increase with understanding, for elevation with wisdom, and for provision with responsibility. What you are about to hear will challenge traditions, break false limitations, and realign your thinking with heaven's design. Lean in, still your spirit. Let expectancy rise. This is not just information. This is activation. Chosen one, lean in now, because what you are stepping into is not just information. This is revelation unfolding in real time, a divine appointment where heaven begins peeling back layers that have kept you from understanding what wealth truly means in the eyes of God. As you hear these words, something in your spirit will begin to stir, because this is not merely teaching. This is alignment, a pulling forward of your destiny, a reminder that what you carry is not ordinary. You were never meant to walk through life confused about prosperity, ashamed of increase, or conflicted about abundance. You were designed, anointed one, to walk with clarity, with purpose, and with the supernatural understanding that heaven does not fear wealth. Heaven authors it, assigns it, and entrusts it to those who walk faithfully. As I speak to you, I need you to understand something deeply. Wealth in the kingdom doesn't begin in the hands. It begins in the heart. It begins with alignment to divine order, and the very first expression of that order is responsibility. I learned this myself the hard way. I remember seasons where I prayed for increase, begged for breakthrough, asked God to send more, yet the little I had was scattered, unfocused, misdirected. I didn't yet know that heaven releases more to those who honor what's already in their care. I didn't realize that divine abundance doesn't fall into chaos. It flows where there is structure, stewardship, and obedience. And this truth, chosen one, is exactly why the first revelation about wealth is so powerful and so often ignored. Heaven's order begins with this: the blessing on your hands is not first for indulgence, it is first for assignment. And your first assignment is your family. Chosen one. Heaven takes this more seriously than most people realize. Provision is not merely an action, it is a spiritual mantle. It is not just about paying bills or keeping lights on. It is about standing in your God-ordained role as a carrier of covering stability and generational continuity. I have seen people chase influence platforms, investments, careers, and even ministry, while the very ones heaven trusted them to nurture were neglected, overlooked, or left hoping for leftovers. But you, anointed one, are different. The call on your life refuses to let you be casual with what God places in your hands. When the scripture speaks of denying the faith by refusing to provide, it is not shaming, it is warning. It is saying, do not abandon the ones assigned to your care, because heaven cannot elevate what you refuse to uphold. There were moments in my own journey when I wrestled with this truth. Times when I hoped an answer would fall from the sky, while I avoided the uncomfortable steps that faith requires. Times when I wanted God to rescue what I refused to take responsibility for. But heaven does not reward avoidance, chosen one. Heaven rewards alignment. And something shifts, truly shifts, when you decide you will no longer wait for someone else to step into a role God placed on you. Whether it is caring for aging parents, supporting your children, or lifting the burdens of those who once lifted you, responsibility becomes the vessel through which heaven pours increase. When God sees someone who honors their assignment, He knows He can trust them with more. This is why spiritual wealth is always tied to natural stewardship. Not perfection, but willingness. And this willingness leads us into another truth. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is preparation. Chosen one. One of the greatest shifts you will ever experience is the moment you stop treating discipline like restriction and begin recognizing it as divine positioning. There was a time when every dollar that came into my hands was already spent in my mind. I devoured everything I earned because I had been conditioned to survive, not instructed to build. Maybe you understand that feeling. The moment money comes, it leaves. The moment something grows, something else consumes it. But when heaven starts preparing you for increase, God does not place more into leaky hands. He strengthens the vessel first. He teaches you to see money not as a temporary visitor, but as a long-term assignment. He shows you that devouring everything is not a personality trait. It is a spiritual trap. And the moment you begin honoring what comes in heaven, begins multiplying what flows out. Discipline is not about deprivation. It is about becoming someone who can hold what you've prayed for. It is about shifting from impulse to intention, from panic to purpose, from reacting to governing. And when you grow in discipline, something sacred begins to happen inside you. You begin to feel different, steadier, grounded, able to breathe without fear of tomorrow. That change is not accidental. It is evidence that heaven is teaching you to reign. But chosen one, with every blessing comes a warning, and heaven gives this one gently. Debt is a chain disguised as opportunity. Not all debt destroys, but all debt demands. There was a season when I learned this too personally. Opportunities looked golden until their weight fell on my shoulders. Borrowing seemed harmless until it began dictating my direction. And that's when I understood the danger of debt is not merely interest. It is spiritual entanglement. It asks for your future before your future arrives. Yet you are not called to be a slave, anointed one. You are called to walk in wisdom. When you learn to distinguish between what grows you and what binds you, you begin walking like someone who knows who they truly are. And as you step into that identity, heaven begins whispering another truth. Wealth was never meant to be stored, it was meant to be multiplied. The moment fear tells you to bury your potential, faith invites you to invest it, not recklessly, not blindly, but courageously. Because the kingdom does not reward hiding, it rewards movement. Chosen one. As we continue, let your spirit stay open, because what I'm about to speak is not just insight, it is impartation. Heaven is not trying to make you financially smart. Heaven is trying to make you spiritually unshakable. And this next revelation builds directly on what has already been stirring inside you. When the kingdom teaches you to multiply, it is not merely talking about investments or numbers. It is teaching you to rise into your God-given identity as one who governs, one who builds, one who carries generational impact. You are not here to merely survive. You are here to establish something heaven has waited for you to realize. Anointed. One multiplication begins where fear ends. I know fear intimately. I know what it feels like to stand in front of opportunity and feel your hands tremble. I know the heaviness of risking what little you have, afraid that one wrong move will send you backward. There were nights I stared at possibilities, yet chose hesitation because I believed safety was more responsible than faith. But safety without God is not safety at all. It is suffocation. And do you know when everything changed for me? Chosen one. When I realized that the enemy doesn't need to destroy your resources, he only needs to paralyze your courage, because a fearful believer becomes his own limitation. But when heaven awakens courage in you, everything in your life begins to shift. You start to see opportunity where you once saw danger, strategy where you once saw confusion, open doors where you once saw obstacles. This is why the principle of wise active investment is so powerful. Not because heaven is obsessed with money, but because heaven is obsessed with movement. The kingdom is built on cycles, seed, time, harvest, not stagnation. When you step into wise investment, you are stepping into spiritual law. And let me be honest, the first time I invested something meaningful, my heart raced. It felt like stepping off a cliff, but afterward, it felt like a veil had been torn. I realized that the fear wasn't about losing money. It was about losing control. And heaven whispered to me, control is not the same as stewardship. Control is fear-based. Stewardship is faith-based. Stewardship invites God into the process. Control shuts him out. Chosen one, you were never created to cling tightly to what was meant to grow. Nothing entrusted to you by God was meant to be buried. Not your talent, not your ideas, not your gifts, not your resources. When you bury what God gave you, do not protect it, you suffocate it. But when you release it with wisdom, heaven breathes on it. You begin to see returns in ways that defy logic, because God multiplies what you move, not what you hide. And this brings us into a profound spiritual truth. Diversification is not merely a financial concept, it is a spiritual safeguard. Heaven never intended for your hope, identity, or provision to sit in one fragile place. When you spread your resources, you also spread your risk, your reach, and your influence. Think of a tree with many branches. Wind may shake it, but it stands because its strength is distributed. In the same way, your financial life must be grounded in holy wisdom, not worldly panic. Heaven teaches you to diversify so that you carry stability even in unstable times. But chosen one, as you grow, heaven also expands your vision from personal increase to generational inheritance. And this shift is not small, it is monumental. Because once heaven sees that you no longer live only for today, you are entrusted with what carries into tomorrow. I remember the day I first realized that wealth is not about accumulation, but continuation. It is not about what I can enjoy, it is about what I can leave standing after I am gone. Heaven thinks generationally. Heaven blesses with legacy in mind, and you, anointed one, are being positioned not just to rise but to establish. Inheritance in the kingdom is not abstract. It is tangible, measurable, visible. It is land, assets, stability, and blessing that outlives you. But the weight of inheritance requires someone willing to think beyond themselves, someone willing to break the curse of survival and usher in the blessing of establishment. Someone willing to say, my children and my children's children will not start where I started. They will start where I finish. And chosen one, that someone is you. But let me speak to something equally sacred: generosity. Generosity is the proof that wealth has not become your master. It is the sign that your heart is aligned with heaven, not with fear. Every act of giving, especially giving to those who can offer nothing in return, becomes a doorway through which heaven pours more. There were times in my life when giving felt impossible. Times when I was the one in need, and yet I felt the gentle nudge to offer something small, something meaningful, something sacrificial. And every time I obeyed that nudge, something supernatural happened. Not always instantly, not always financially, but always divinely. Because generosity is not about the amount, it's about the alignment. And finally, chosen one. There is a sobering truth heaven reveals to protect you. Whenever a person gives up responsibility, they invite bondage. Not all at once, but slowly. Responsibility is the shield that keeps freedom intact. The moment we hand over what God instructed us to govern, we create space for something or someone else to govern us. This is why heaven teaches responsibility before abundance. Because abundance without responsibility becomes slavery disguised as blessing. Chosen one, let these truths settle deeply within you. You are being shaped, strengthened, prepared, and heaven is not finished speaking. Chosen one, breathe deeply and allow your spirit to settle as we step into this next impartation, because heaven is not merely informing you, it is reforming you. What you are receiving is not the wisdom of a moment. It is the architecture of a life that God Himself is building within you. You're being shaped into someone who can carry weight without breaking responsibility, without fear, and abundance without distortion. This is why the next revelation carries such gravity. Freedom is sustained by responsibility. And the enemy knows that if he cannot tempt you, he will try to relieve you of responsibility, because a relieved believer becomes a bound believer. It happened in ancient stories. It happens in modern systems, and it can happen silently in the heart of someone who forgets who they are. But you, anointed one, are awakening to a higher call. You must understand that spiritual and financial bondage rarely begins loudly. It begins subtly with tiny compromises that seem harmless. It begins when a person grows tired, discouraged, or overwhelmed and starts surrendering decisions to someone else, believing it will lighten the load. I have lived some of this myself. There were seasons where exhaustion made me tempted to put my life on autopilot, to let circumstances choose for me, to let pressure guide my decisions. In those moments, I did not realize that stepping back was creating space for systems, people, or fears to step in. Whenever you stop leading your own life, something else begins leading it for you, and heaven refuses to let that happen to you. Chosen one, because the mantle you carry demands intentionality. Responsibility is not a burden, it is spiritual armor. It anchors your choices, strengthens your voice, and protects your future. It is the posture of someone who refuses to be enslaved financially, emotionally, or spiritually. And when heaven calls you into responsibility, it is never to weigh you down. It is to elevate you into dominion. Dominion is not domination. It is holy stewardship, the ability to govern what God has entrusted to your hands. And you cannot carry dominion without first embracing responsibility. This is why the kingdom consistently teaches agency. Heaven empowers you not by removing every challenge, but by strengthening you to overcome them. The more responsibility you embrace, the more authority heaven releases. Anointed one. The next truth I need to reveal to you is this: responsibility precedes revelation. Many people ask God for clarity, strategy, breakthrough, but clarity doesn't come to those who avoid responsibility. Strategy doesn't come to those who refuse to choose. Breakthrough doesn't come to those who neglect what is already in their care. Heaven releases more only when what has already been given is honored. I have seen this unfold countless times. When I honored the little, it grew. When I neglected it, it weakened. When I assumed someone else would fix it, nothing changed. But when I stood up, took ownership, and moved with conviction, heaven opened doors I didn't even know existed. Responsibility attracts revelation because heaven trusts movement, not stagnation. And this takes us into a deeper truth. When a person relinquishes responsibility, they unknowingly begin trading freedom for comfort. Comfort feels safe at first, like a warm blanket on a cold night. But comfort without purpose becomes a trap. It lulls you into dependency. It convinces you that someone else can think for you, plan for you, provide for you. And while assistance can be a blessing, dependency is a slow erosion of identity. Heaven made you capable, chosen one. You have strength inside you that you haven't fully tapped into yet. You have resilience forged in seasons you thought would break you. You have wisdom born from wounds you've survived and lessons you've earned. You are not fragile, you are fortified. And as you step deeper into divine alignment, heaven needs you to understand this wealth does not begin with money. It begins with mastery. Mastery over your emotions, mastery over your decisions, mastery over your habits, mastery over your mindset. I learned that mastering money without mastering myself created cycles of progress followed by collapse. But when I began mastering my inner world, my discipline, my focus, my choices, suddenly the external world responded differently. Opportunities recognized me. Solutions found me. Resources aligned with me. Heaven cannot pour into a vessel filled with holes, and mastery is the process of sealing every leak the enemy once used. Chosen one, do not underestimate the power of the shifts happening inside you right now. Your relationship with responsibility is being healed. Your understanding of stewardship is being reformed. Your identity as one who governs, protects, builds, and multiplies is awakening. Heaven trusts you far more than you have trusted yourself. And this is why you are being stretched, because your next level requires a version of you that refuses to shrink. And now, Anointed One, let me speak to something deeply sacred, the link between responsibility and generational transformation. The decisions you are making now will echo beyond your lifetime. You are breaking mindsets your family carried for decades. You are dismantling cycles that once felt unbreakable. You are building foundations that will outlive your name. This is why heaven is so protective of your growth. Because the blessing resting on you does not end with you, it flows through you. Chosen one, you are not being prepared for small things. You are being prepared for legacy. And heaven is not slowing down. It is accelerating your understanding, sharpening your discernment, strengthening your posture. Because the next revelations you are about to receive require the spirit of a builder, not a borrower, a leader, not a follower, a steward, not a spectator. You are rising, you are remembering, you are reclaiming the authority heaven always intended you to walk in. Chosen one. As we move into this next unveiling, I want you to feel the weight and the warmth of what heaven is releasing over you. By now, something inside you has already begun to shift. You can feel it, a subtle strengthening, a clearer sense of identity, a deeper awareness that you were never meant to walk through life bound by limitation or lack. Heaven has been rearranging your inner landscape, preparing you to receive truths that don't just inform your mind, but awaken your spirit. And now we step into a revelation that transforms not only how you handle wealth, but how you see yourself as a carrier of legacy. Because what heaven desires to establish through you, Anointed One, is not temporary increase, but generational continuation. You must understand that inheritance in the kingdom is not a poetic idea. It is a spiritual blueprint. It is heaven's way of declaring that your life is meant to overflow beyond you. When I first began studying the patterns of divine increase, something became very clear. God never blesses a person only for the sake of the person. God blesses a person so that the blessing becomes a structure, a foundation, a platform for those who come after. I remember the day this truth hit me with full force. I was reflecting on my own upbringing, on the sacrifices my parents made, on the opportunities they gave me that they never had. And I realized something powerful. Every act of responsibility, sacrifice, discipline, and faithfulness becomes part of the inheritance we leave behind. Inheritance is not just money, it is mindset, stability, opportunity, and freedom. But wealth, real tangible wealth, is a tool heaven uses to reinforce those deeper inheritances. Chosen one. You must see yourself now as a builder of foundations. You are not simply living your own life, you are carving a path for your descendants. Every wise decision you make today becomes the open door someone else will walk through tomorrow. Every toxic pattern you break becomes a chain your children will never again have to fight. Every principle you embrace becomes a seed that will grow long after you are gone. This is why heaven begins speaking to you about legacy at this moment, because you're rising to the level where your life is bigger than your lifetime, and legacy requires long-term vision. Something powerful happens when you stop thinking only in days or months or even years and begin thinking in generations. Heaven begins trusting you with more, because heaven knows you won't waste it. Heaven knows you won't swallow everything you receive in the moment. Heaven knows you're willing to plant what you could have consumed. That chosen one is the mark of someone heaven can bless without fear. But let me be honest with you, embracing legacy is not easy. It requires living differently. It requires breaking free from the mindset that says, as long as I'm okay for now, it's enough. No, Anointed One, heaven is calling you higher. Heaven is calling you to prepare land your children will stand on, to build structures they will inherit, to create blessings that will live longer than your name. This is not pressure, this is privilege. You are being invited to become the turning point in your family line. And woven into this truth is another profound revelation. Generosity is the character of those who carry legacy. Not generosity that seeks applause, but generosity that flows from alignment. I learned early in my journey that giving was not about losing, it was about loosening. Every time I released something into the lives of others, something inside me expanded. Fear loosened, scarcity loosened, the grip of anxiety loosened, and in its place, faith grew broader, trust grew deeper, and my heart became more aligned with heaven's rhythm. Generosity isn't just a financial act, it's a spiritual declaration that you know where your source truly comes from. Chosen. One, generosity is proof that wealth has no control over you. When you can release freely, it means you have mastered what many spend their entire lives enslaved to. Giving strengthens you. It resets your spirit. It removes selfishness and invites supernatural flow. This is why heaven ties generosity to increase, not because God needs what you give, but because giving positions your heart to receive without fear. Heaven can overflow a vessel that is open, never a vessel that is clenched. But now we must go deeper, because there is a truth many ignore. When a person refuses responsibility, they unknowingly invite bondage. This is not punishment, it is spiritual law. It played out in ancient stories and still plays out today. When individuals surrender responsibility, they become dependent. And dependency, when tied to the wrong source, evolves into captivity. It never happens instantly. It begins subtly in seasons of fatigue or discouragement, in moments when giving up feels easier than rising up. But every surrendered responsibility becomes a surrendered freedom, and heaven is preserving your freedom. Chosen one. That is why this revelation is coming to you now, in this season, in this moment. Heaven is teaching you to guard the authority entrusted to you. You are not here to be controlled. You are here to steward. You are not here to be governed by fear systems or circumstances. You are here to take dominion, and dominion cannot exist where responsibility is abandoned. This is why heaven is awakening your awareness, because you carry too much potential, too much influence, too much generational impact to allow anything to rule you except God Himself. Chosen one, you are rising into maturity, into clarity, into divine ownership of who you truly are. And heaven is not withholding anything from you. It is preparing you for more. Chosen one, as we step into this next unfolding, allow your spirit to remain open, steady, and attentive, for what heaven is revealing now carries the weight of deep discernment. You have journeyed through layers of understanding, moving from personal stewardship to generational legacy. And now heaven draws you into a revelation about systems power and the unseen forces that operate around wealth. This is not a message meant to create fear. It is a message meant to create clarity. Clarity is protection. Clarity is empowerment. Clarity is the spiritual light that exposes the subtle traps designed to keep you from rising into the fullness of what God intends for you. And now, Chosen One, heaven invites you to see the bigger picture, not just of your life, but of the world you live in. There is a pattern woven throughout history, one that repeats endlessly. When people relinquish responsibility, they lose authority. When they lose authority, they lose freedom. And when they lose freedom, they become vulnerable to systems that do not have their well-being in mind. I have studied this, not only spiritually but practically. I've watched families lose stability because someone assumed tomorrow would fix what they neglected today. I've watched communities fall into cycles of dependency because they surrendered decisions that were meant to be made with wisdom. I've seen entire nations shift from empowerment to oppression because people handed over what heaven intended them to steward. And Anointed One, heaven is revealing these patterns to you, not as a warning of doom, but as a reminder that you are called to break every cycle that leads to bondage: financial bondage, emotional bondage, spiritual bondage. Bondage rarely starts with chains. It starts with convenience. It starts when a person says, "It's too much effort to handle this myself. I'll let someone else take care of it." It starts when someone thinks responsibility is heavy. Maybe I can hand it off. But heaven didn't create you to escape responsibility. Heaven created you to rise into it. Rising into responsibility is rising into power, and rising into power is rising into freedom. God did not design you to be controlled by systems, people, or circumstances. God designed you to walk as one who governs, who discerns, who chooses with intention. I know what it feels like to be overwhelmed by responsibilities. I know what it feels like to wish someone would solve everything for you, to hope for an escape from the pressure, to wonder why life seems so heavy. There was a time in my own journey when I wanted someone else to handle what was placed in my hands. I wanted rescue without responsibility. But heaven confronted me gently but firmly. If I remove the weight, I remove the strength you gain from carrying it. That truth changed me. What I thought was pressure was actually preparation. What I thought was burden was actually training, and what I thought was too heavy was actually molding me into the person who could carry the blessing I was praying for. Chosen one responsibility is not a punishment, it is a promotion. Heaven only entrusts weight to those who have the capacity to grow stronger. You would not be given this revelation if you were weak. Heaven would not speak to you about responsibility if you were incapable. The very fact that this message has reached your ears is proof that heaven sees you as one capable of carrying divine authority in the realm of wealth, influence, and spiritual leadership. But to walk in this authority, you must understand how systems operate. Systems are built by men, but cycles are governed by spiritual principles. When you understand spiritual cycles, you cannot be controlled by earthly systems. When you understand kingdom laws, you cannot be deceived by human structures. Heaven wants you wise, not naive, discerning, not fearful, empowered, not dependent. This is why responsibility matters. It keeps your spirit awake and your authority intact. And here is a truth many overlook. The enemy does not need to destroy you to stop you. He only needs you to surrender your role. He only needs you to hand over your choices. He only needs you to believe that someone else should manage your future. But you, anointed one, are awakening. Your discernment is sharpening. You are beginning to see the invisible strings that have controlled generations. And heaven is cutting them one by one. Do not underestimate the spiritual shift happening inside you right now. You are stepping into a higher consciousness, a greater level of awareness. You're beginning to understand that the same patterns that bound people in ancient times still operate today, but you're not falling for them. You're breaking free. You are reclaiming your authority. Chosen one, when you take responsibility for your resources, your decisions, your habits, your future, you become untouchable. Systems cannot control you. Fear cannot cripple you. Lack cannot intimidate you, and bondage cannot claim you. You become, in every sense, a free person, free to build, free to rise, free to multiply, free to walk in the fullness of what heaven has ordained for you. You are not merely learning principles, you are being transformed into someone who cannot be shaken. Chosen one. As we step deeper into this unfolding, allow every distraction to fall away from your mind, because what heaven is preparing to release now must be heard, not only with your ears, but with your spirit. You have journeyed through principles of responsibility, legacy, and discernment, and now heaven is drawing you into a realm of understanding where wealth stops being something you pursue and becomes something you attract. This is the point where alignment begins to shape your reality. This is where heaven teaches you not just how to manage wealth, but how to embody the kind of spiritual stature that causes provision, opportunity, and divine connections to recognize you, respond to you, and gravitate toward your life. Anointed one, something in you is being carved, strengthened, awakened. Wealth is no longer a mystery to be solved. It is becoming a language your spirit is learning to speak fluently. There is a profound truth that many overlook. Wealth flows to identity. It follows the posture of a person who knows who they are. When you carry uncertainty, wealth slips through your fingers. When you carry insecurity, doors close without explanation. When you walk with hesitation, opportunities step back. But when you rise into confidence, not arrogance but identity, creation begins to respond to you differently. You begin to attract what aligns with your destiny. And this is why heaven is taking so much time shaping your inner world. Heaven is preparing you to become a person of substance, stature, and spiritual authority. Not someone who chases wealth, but someone wealth recognizes. I remember a time in my own journey when I was striving endlessly, trying to fix everything, trying to force opportunities, trying to push doors open. I exhausted myself, believing that breakthrough was the result of hustling harder. But the more I struggled, the more life resisted me. It was only when I surrendered the inner chaos, when I allowed God to reshape my identity from the inside, that everything shifted. Suddenly, solutions appeared where there had been dead ends. Suddenly, I met people I had once spent years trying to reach. Suddenly, the things I had been chasing began chasing me. And the Spirit whispered, when you become aligned, you don't have to fight for what already belongs to you. Chosen, one heaven is bringing you into this same alignment. This alignment begins with the heart. If your heart is cluttered with anxiety, fear, or comparison, your hands cannot carry increase. This is why heaven gently confronts the anxieties you've carried for years, the fears about failing, the fears about not being enough, the fears about repeating the patterns of those before you. These fears are being dismantled because they were never part of the person you were created to be. Identity is not shaped by insecurity. Identity is shaped by surrender. Surrender is what frees you. Surrender is what strengthens you. Surrender is what opens the door for heaven to flow through you unhindered. And now, chosen one, heaven brings you into a powerful revelation. Wealth responds to wisdom. Not just intellectual knowledge, but spiritual wisdom, the ability to see beyond what others see, to discern timing, to recognize opportunity, even when it comes in the form of inconvenience. Yet, wisdom does not fall on the passive. Wisdom falls on the attentive. This is why your awareness is being sharpened. You are being trained to hear differently, perceive differently, notice differently. Opportunities seldom arrive wrapped in glitter. Often they arrive wrapped in responsibility, discomfort, or subtle invitations that only the discerning recognize. You are becoming that discerning one. But let us go deeper still. Heaven wants you to understand that wealth is a test long before it is a blessing. It exposes what lies within you. If your identity is fragile, wealth amplifies insecurity. If your motives are selfish, wealth magnifies corruption. But if your heart is anchored, wealth amplifies purpose. This is why heaven has been stretching you, purifying you, refining you, because abundance is heavy and only healed hands can carry it safely. There were seasons in my own life where I thought I was ready for more, yet heaven held me back. Not as punishment, but as protection. Because more requires maturity, and I had to learn that delay is not denial, it is divine preparation. Chosen one, you are now entering a stage where heaven is teaching you to master your internal environment. The mindset that once created chaos must now create clarity. The emotions that once created fear must now create focus. The habits that once created stagnation must now create momentum. Heaven is not only changing what you do, it is changing who you are becoming. And who you are becoming is someone who walks in quiet strength, unshakable confidence, and holy authority. And now, anointed one, let me speak a truth that becomes a milestone on this journey. Wealth multiplies wherever peace reigns. Chaos repels increase. Peace attracts it. Peace is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of God's order within you. When you govern your inner world, you begin governing your outer world. When you silence fear, you amplify faith. When you regulate your emotions, you elevate your decisions. And when you choose peace, heaven releases clarity that leads you directly into the strategies you once prayed for. Chosen one, heaven is shaping your character to sustain what your prayer life has requested. You are not being prepared for small opportunities. You are being prepared for gates, territories, influence, and impact. Everything being formed in you now is to ensure that nothing the enemy tried to use to break you will ever hinder you again. You are stepping into alignment, identity, and authority, and heaven continues to prepare you for what comes next. Chosen one. As we continue this sacred unfolding, allow your heart to stay soft and your spirit alert, for what heaven is revealing in this moment carries a depth that can only be received by someone who is ready to rise. You have journeyed through responsibility, discernment, identity, and inner mastery, and now heaven is ushering you into a revelation about atmosphere, because wealth, opportunity, influence, and elevation do not simply manifest in random environments. They flourish in atmospheres where the spirit is aligned, the mind is focused, and the heart is anchored. Anointed One, heaven is teaching you how to cultivate an inner and outer environment where blessings are not chased but welcomed, not forced but formed, not seized but stewarded. What many fail to understand is that atmosphere is spiritual before it is material. A chaotic spirit leads to a chaotic life. A fearful heart leads to fearful decisions. A scattered mind leads to scattered results. Yet when your inner world is cultivated with intention, when peace reigns, when clarity flows, when discernment is sharp, your outer world begins to reorder itself around the strength of your spirit. I recall moments in my own journey when I tried to fix everything outside while ignoring the unrest inside. Even when I made the right decisions externally, the internal turmoil sabotaged the outcome. But when I learned to command my inner atmosphere, everything outside began to align. Doors opened without me knocking. Opportunities found me without me searching. Provision appeared without me striving. Because your atmosphere speaks, chosen one. It speaks to heaven. It speaks to opportunity. It speaks to destiny. And this is why heaven is now inviting you into a deeper cultivation of your spiritual atmosphere. You must understand that confusion is not just a feeling, it is a thief. Worry is not just a habit, it is a weight. Fear is not just an emotion, it is a doorway the enemy uses to access your decisions. But peace, true peace, is a fortress. It shields your mind. It guards your heart. It positions you to hear God clearly. Peace is the environment where divine strategy is revealed. Peace is the ground where supernatural ideas take root. Peace is the atmosphere where wealth grows steadily and safely. So when heaven teaches you to protect your peace, it is not asking you to be passive. It is instructing you to be powerful. But peace is not the only atmosphere heaven is shaping in you. Confidence, wholly grounded spiritual confidence, is also rising within you. This is not arrogance, and it is not self-glorification. It is the quiet assurance that comes from knowing you are supported, guided, backed, and carried by heaven. A confident spirit attracts clarity. A confident spirit attracts boldness. A confident spirit attracts opportunities that would otherwise stay hidden. When you walk with the awareness that you are chosen, equipped, and divinely supported, every room you enter responds to you differently. People feel it. Situations shift because of it. Even obstacles adjust to make room for the person who walks with God-given assurance. Anointed one, another layer of atmosphere heaven is cultivating in you is readiness. Blessings do not wait for convenience, they come when heaven decides the time is right, but only the ready can receive them. Readiness is not perfection. Readiness is posture. It is living with a spirit that says, when God opens the door, I will walk through it without hesitation. Readiness is keeping your mind sharpened, your skills active, your spirit sensitive. In my own life, I have seen opportunities appear suddenly, moments where hesitation would have cost me everything. But because heaven had trained me to be ready, I recognized the moment and stepped into it. Readiness turns sudden blessings into sustained breakthrough. And now, chosen one, heaven brings forth an atmosphere many overlook: gratitude. Gratitude is more than a polite feeling, it is spiritual fertilizer. It accelerates growth. It multiplies blessing. It transforms your perception so you can see miracles even in small beginnings. Gratitude shifts complaining into clarity, shifts impatience into trust, shifts stagnation into movement. When you cultivate gratitude, you train your spirit to live in expectation rather than disappointment. You open yourself to see what heaven is doing instead of focusing on what you think is missing. Finally, heaven reveals one more atmosphere that is essential to your rising: intentional solitude, not isolation solitude. The place where you step away from noise, demands, opinions and pressures to hear heaven clearly. Solitude refines you. It refills you. It reconnects you to the voice that guides your steps. Some of the greatest revelations of my life came not in crowds, not in chaos, but in quiet moments when my spirit was still enough to hear heaven whisper. Chosen one. The atmosphere you cultivate becomes the world you live in, and heaven is shaping you into someone who carries peace, confidence, readiness, gratitude and clarity effortlessly, because these are the atmospheres where wealth, wisdom and divine strategy thrive. Chosen one. As we continue into this next sacred impartation, let your spirit remain open, because heaven is about to illuminate one of the most transformative truths concerning wealth calling and divine positioning. You have learned about responsibility, inner mastery and atmosphere, and now heaven is shifting your awareness towards something deeper: alignment with divine timing. Timing is one of the most misunderstood spiritual principles, yet it is also one of the most powerful. Opportunity without timing becomes a burden. Blessing without timing becomes confusion. But when timing aligns with preparation, heaven releases acceleration that no force on earth can resist. Anointed one, heaven is preparing you to step into moments created only for those who are spiritually sensitive enough to recognize them. Divine timing is not based on clocks or calendars. It is based on readiness and alignment. There were moments in my own life when I felt delayed, when I prayed for things that felt slow to manifest, when I wondered whether God had forgotten me, when every door seemed to remain closed, no matter how hard I knocked. But later, when the doors opened, I understood why the delay was necessary. Had they opened earlier, I would have entered with broken thinking, unstable emotions, and immature stewardship. The delay was not denial. It was divine timing working behind the scenes, aligning circumstances, preparing opportunities, and shaping me into the person who could sustain the blessing. You, chosen one, are in such a divine process right now. What looked slow was strategic. What felt stagnant was preparation. Heaven is not late, it is precise. And this brings us to another profound truth. Divine timing often appears disguised. It rarely arrives with fireworks or loud announcements. Sometimes it comes as a quiet nudge, a conversation that seems ordinary, a sudden idea, or an unexpected opportunity that doesn't look glamorous at first glance. People miss divine timing because they expect it to look dramatic. But heaven speaks in small signals before it reveals large shifts. This is why discernment is so essential in moments of transition. Many have walked past doors heaven opened simply because they did not look like what they imagined. But you, anointed one, are being trained to see beyond the surface, to recognize God's fingerprints, even on subtle moments. Another layer of divine timing is alignment with relationships, because sometimes heaven sends people before it sends answers. Throughout my journey, the greatest breakthroughs rarely came through money itself. They came through people. A mentor who spoke wisdom when I was confused. A business connection who saw potential in me when others overlooked me. A friend who gave me an insight that shifted my entire trajectory. Relationships are one of heaven's greatest currencies. Divine timing often moves through divine connections. But here is the key: heaven will not connect you to people who match your past. Heaven connects you to people who match your future. This is why some relationships fade when you begin to grow. It is not rejection, it is realignment. Chosen. One, divine timing also requires your participation. Heaven can open the door, but you must walk through it. Heaven can arrange the moment, but you must say yes. Timing without action becomes regret. There were seasons in my life where I hesitated because fear whispered, "What if it doesn't work?" And so I paused and the moment passed. But the moments I seized boldly, even trembling, became turning points. Heaven is not looking for perfection. It is looking for readiness, willingness, obedience. Divine timing rewards movement. And there is another dimension of timing that must be understood: the difference between preparation seasons and manifestation seasons. Preparation seasons feel quiet, hidden, steady. You are building, learning, healing, growing. These seasons do not look glamorous, but they are spiritually rich. Manifestation seasons, however, move quickly. Doors open suddenly. Opportunities multiply. Increase accelerates. Yet, if you enter manifestation without preparation, you collapse under the weight of the blessing. This is why heaven spends so much time shaping your interior world before expanding your exterior world. It is mercy, not withholding. Now, chosen one, let me speak a truth that will anchor you. Divine timing is not just about moments, it is about becoming. You are not waiting for a moment. The moment is waiting for you. Heaven waits for you to grow into the version of yourself capable of carrying what you prayed for. Every refinement, every lesson, every moment of inner development is preparing you to step confidently into acceleration when it arrives. Anointed one, you are approaching a season where opportunities that once seemed distant will begin to move toward you. Doors that were once closed will open. Favor will find you. But recognize this: your ability to steward divine timing will determine how far you go. Heaven is shaping your awareness so you do not miss what others overlook. Chosen one, trust the timing. Trust the alignment. Trust the preparation. You are being positioned with precision for what heaven has set in motion for you. Chosen one. As we continue into this next sacred unfolding, let your heart remain steady and your spirit receptive, because heaven is now drawing you into a deeper revelation about authority, specifically your authority in the realm of wealth, decisions, and destiny. You have walked through responsibility, identity, atmosphere, and timing, and now heaven is preparing you to understand a truth that few ever grasp. You cannot walk in divine abundance without first walking in divine authority. Wealth is not just something you hold, it is something you rule, and heaven is awakening the ruler within you. Authority is not loud, it is not forceful, it is not aggressive. Authority is quiet, settled confidence, confidence in who you are, confidence in what God has said, confidence in the path heaven has ordained for you. True authority flows from alignment, and alignment flows from identity. This is why the enemy attacks identity so fiercely. If he can make you question who you are, he can make you question what you deserve. If he can make you doubt your worth, he can make you forfeit your inheritance. If he can convince you that you are unqualified, he can keep you from taking hold of what heaven already prepared for you. But you, anointed one, are awakening to your spiritual DNA. You were not created to walk timidly. You were created to walk as one entrusted with dominion. There was a season in my own journey when I did not understand this. I thought authority meant speaking louder, working harder, pushing more forcefully. But heaven corrected me gently. Authority is not pressure. It is posture. It is the way you carry yourself. It is the way you make decisions. It is the way you refuse to shrink in the face of uncertainty. When you walk in authority, you stop asking permission to rise. You stop apologizing for the blessing. You stop negotiating with fear. You stop surrendering your power every time something feels uncomfortable. Instead, you begin to move with intention, confidence, and clarity, even when the path ahead is unfamiliar. Chosen one authority is what allows you to make decisions that build rather than decisions that break. It is what gives you the courage to invest, to grow, to step into new arenas without being paralyzed by what-if scenarios. It is what enables you to say yes to divine opportunities and no to distractions disguised as obligations. When you walk in authority, you begin to sense the difference between what pulls you backward and what positions you forward. You stop operating from survival and begin operating from sovereignty, holy sovereignty, the kind heaven entrusts to those who are submitted, surrendered, and aligned. One of the greatest revelations heaven ever taught me was this: your decisions carry spiritual weight. They open doors, they close doors, they shift seasons, they create momentum. Every wise decision compounds into future breakthrough. Every careless decision compounds into unnecessary delay. This is why heaven is training you now, not to overwhelm you, but to prepare you. Authority requires discernment. Authority requires emotional maturity. Authority requires the ability to see beyond the immediate moment and recognize the long-term impact of your choices. And you, anointed one, are growing into this maturity with every revelation you receive. But authority also requires boundaries, something many people ignore. To walk in authority is to say, this is what I allow into my life, and this is what I do not. Boundaries protect vision. Boundaries protect peace. Boundaries protect destiny. When you lack boundaries, people drain you, circumstances distract you, and environments shape you. But when you walk with clear, firm boundaries, you shape your environment instead of being shaped by it. You prioritize purpose over pressure. You protect your time, your energy, your finances, and your spirit from anything that pulls you away from alignment, and heaven honors those who honor their own assignment. Chosen. One another dimension of authority is the ability to break cycles. Cycles do not break through emotion. They break through authority, authority that says, this ends with me. Authority that refuses to repeat patterns of fear, lack, scarcity, or self-sabotage. Authority that rewrites the narrative for future generations. Many people feel the weight of their family's struggles but never step into the authority needed to end them. But you are not like them. Heaven is raising you as a cycle breaker. You sense the patterns. You feel the shifts. You recognize what must change. You are not intimidated by what has defeated others. You are anointed to break what bound them. And finally, Anointed One, understand this authority attracts provision. Not arrogance, not ego, but spiritual authority. When you walk in the assurance that heaven backs you, resources begin to align with your purpose. Opportunities seek out the confident. Doors open for those who stand tall. Favors flow toward those who refuse to shrink. Heaven invests in those who understand the assignment. And you are becoming one of those individuals. Someone heaven can trust, someone destiny recognizes, someone wealth gravitates toward. Chosen. One authority is not something you chase, it is something you accept. Heaven is placing it upon you even now, and as you rise into it, everything around you will begin to shift. Chosen One. As we continue this divine unfolding, allow your spirit to settle into a deeper place of awareness, because heaven is now drawing you into a revelation that touches the very core of impact, influence, and spiritual positioning. Up to this point, heaven has been shaping your identity, your authority, your timing, and your atmosphere, because without these foundations, the next dimension would overwhelm you. But now, Anointed One Heaven is ushering you into understanding the true purpose of wealth and elevation, to become a vessel of transformation, a carrier of blessing, and a conduit through which heaven's generosity flows into the world. You were never meant to be a reservoir, you were meant to be a river. What heaven gives you is never just for you. Abundance is not an ending, it is a beginning. It is the beginning of impact, generosity, and the fulfillment of assignments heaven planned long before you realized you were chosen. There was a season in my life when I believed wealth was primarily about freedom. Freedom from worry, freedom from lack, freedom from pressure. But heaven opened my eyes. True wealth is not merely freedom from something, it is freedom for something. Freedom to build, freedom to serve, freedom to uplift, freedom to bless, freedom to shift lives, freedom to overturn cycles of lack that have stretched across generations. And heaven is bringing you into that understanding now. Chosen One. Generosity is not random giving. It is strategic sowing. It is heavenly partnership. It is the act of placing what is in your hands into the hands of God, trusting that what you surrender will be multiplied far beyond what you could accomplish alone. Generosity is spiritual technology. It unlocks doors, it activates protection, it breaks cycles, it softens hearts, and it aligns your life with heaven's flow. I have lived through moments where giving felt impossible, where I felt I had too little to release anything. Yet, in those moments, heaven whispered, "What you hold on to shrinks, but what you release multiplies." And time after time, I witnessed supernatural provision rise from the very places where I sowed in faith. But generosity is not only about resources, it is about posture. It is about creating a life where you are open to give, open to serve, open to uplift, open to contribute to the healing of others. That openness forms a spiritual magnetism around your life. People sense it, opportunities respond to it, even challenges bow to it, because when you live generously, you live in alignment with heaven's rhythm. Heaven is generous, and those connected to heaven flow as heaven flows. And yet Anointed One Heaven wants to reveal something deeper. Generosity is protection, not just for your finances, but for your heart. A heart that cannot release becomes hard. A heart that refuses to give becomes spiritually stagnant. But a heart that gives remains open, flexible, humble, and ready for expansion. Heaven protects those whose hearts mirror its generosity. I have witnessed individuals rise financially only to collapse because their hearts never grew with their increase. They gained money but lost compassion. They gained influence but lost humility. Heaven desires better for you. You are being molded into someone who can carry increase safely. Chosen. One, understand this. Wealth is not validated by possession. It is validated by purpose. A wealthy person without purpose becomes aimless, but a wealthy person with divine assignment becomes unstoppable. Heaven is preparing you for purposeful abundance that builds, heals, uplifts, and reshapes the world around you. And to walk in this purpose, you must learn to see your resources not as trophies, but as tools, not as decorations, but as instruments, not as symbols, but as seeds. This is why heaven is refining your discernment. Not every need requires your involvement. Not every request requires your response. Not every opportunity to give is your assignment. Generosity without discernment becomes depletion, but generosity with discernment becomes multiplication. Heaven wants you to give from wisdom, not guilt, from alignment, not pressure, from calling, not impulse. The lives you are called to impact will be revealed to you. The places where your seed is meant to multiply will become clear. When you give where heaven directs, the return is not only financial, it is spiritual, emotional, and generational. And now, Anointed One, heaven brings you into a profound truth. The more you step into purposeful generosity, the more you step into divine influence. Influence is not popularity, it is spiritual weight. It is the power to shift atmospheres, guide decisions, shape environments, and inspire change. When heaven sees you can be trusted with influence, it expands your reach. It opens doors to places you never imagined standing. It brings people into your life who carry keys to territories you could never enter alone. Influence grows where generosity flows. Chosen One. You are entering a season where your presence, your words, your decisions, and your resources will begin shaping more than your own life. Heaven is elevating you, not just for personal blessing, but for purposeful impact. And everything being revealed to you now is preparing you to carry that assignment with grace, strength, and clarity. You are not rising for yourself. You are rising for those who will be changed because you answered heaven's call. Chosen One. As we move into this next sacred unveiling, let your spirit lean forward, because heaven is now drawing you into a revelation about expansion. Expansion not just of wealth, but of capacity, vision, influence, and spiritual stature. Everything you have received so far has been preparing you for this moment. Heaven does not pour increase into a life that remains the same size. Heaven expands you before it expands what belongs to you. And now, Anointed One, heaven is stretching your capacity so you can hold what is coming without breaking, without fearing, and without shrinking back. Expansion begins in the unseen. It begins in the inner chambers of your thinking, your belief systems, your habits, and your expectations. I remember times when I prayed for more while subconsciously expecting less. I prayed for opportunities, but doubted my ability to carry them. I prayed for overflow while living mentally in scarcity. Heaven showed me that my life could not rise beyond the ceiling of my inner expectation. The moment I expanded inwardly, everything outside expanded with me. And now the same inner shift is happening within you. Heaven is breaking the ceilings that were built by past disappointments, past fears, and past limitations. You are being stretched into a larger version of yourself. Chosen. One, expansion is uncomfortable by design. You may feel tension in this season, a pull, a stretch, a divine pressure that pushes you beyond your familiar limits. This is not struggle, it is spiritual growth. Heaven cannot elevate the version of you that stays small, and so you are being invited to think bigger, dream wider, envision broader. You are being called to step into rooms you once felt unqualified for, to attempt what once intimidated you, to pursue goals that once felt unreachable. Expansion requires courage, not comfort. There is something sacred heaven wants you to understand. Expansion requires new structure. You cannot carry a larger blessing with old patterns. The habits that worked in your last season will not sustain your next one. The thinking that kept you stable before will not propel you into breakthrough now. Every new realm requires a renewed mind. This is why heaven has been refining your discipline, sharpening your awareness, elevating your decision-making, and aligning your spirit. You are being restructured internally for a greater external assignment, and Anointed One expansion also requires new associations. Heaven will begin aligning you with people who think at the level of where you are going, not where you have been. You may feel certain relationships loosening not out of conflict, but out of misalignment. Do not mourn what heaven removes. Expansion demands connections that challenge you, stretch you, and call you higher. You will begin to sense whose presence multiplies your potential and whose presence diminishes it. Heaven is not isolating you, it is graduating you. Chosen One expansion is also deeply spiritual. When heaven stretches your spirit, it is preparing you to carry greater authority. You begin hearing God more clearly, sensing timing more accurately, and recognizing opportunities faster. Your discernment sharpens your confidence, strengthens, and your inner voice becomes bolder. The timid version of you is fading. The expanded version of you is emerging. But understand this, with expansion comes responsibility. Increase without structure leads to collapse. Elevation without character leads to downfall. Heaven expands you so that you can sustain, protect, and multiply what is given. Your destiny is too important to be mishandled. This is why heaven is taking its time, shaping you layer by layer, truth by truth, revelation by revelation, until you become someone who cannot be shaken by pressure, flattered by attention, or swayed by fear. And finally, Anointed One expansion is not only about you. Heaven expands you so that you can expand others, so that your presence becomes a catalyst for growth, your wisdom becomes a guidepost, your life becomes a testimony of what is possible when someone surrenders fully to divine alignment. You are being shaped into a pillar, one that others can lean on, learn from, and rise beside. Chosen One. Heaven is stretching your vision, enlarging your capacity, and preparing your spirit for what will require the strongest version of you. Embrace the stretch. Welcome the unfamiliar. Stand boldly in the transformation. You are expanding into the fullness of who you were always meant to become. Chosen One. As we enter this final impartation, let your heart remain open and your spirit fully awake, for heaven is now gathering every truth, every revelation, every shift that has taken place within you, and weaving them into a single resounding message, one that will anchor you for the rest of your journey. You have walked through responsibility, identity, authority, legacy, atmosphere, timing, and expansion. And now heaven draws you into the culmination of everything, the mastery of divine stewardship. Not ordinary stewardship, but supernatural stewardship, the kind that causes wealth to grow under your hands, generations to rise after you, and destiny to flourish around you. Anointed One. This is where heaven reveals the fullness of why you were chosen to carry this mantle. Divine stewardship is the ability to handle what God entrusts to you with wisdom, vision, courage, and alignment. It is the recognition that nothing in your life is random, not your talents, not your opportunities, not your resources, not your battles, not your breakthroughs. All of it has been shaping you into a vessel capable of carrying both responsibility and influence simultaneously. I remember moments when I mishandled what was given to me simply because I didn't understand the weight of stewardship. I treated blessings casually. I overlooked small assignments. I underestimated the significance of consistency. But heaven corrected me with love. If you can be trusted with little, you can be trusted with much. That truth became the turning point of my life, and now it becomes the turning point of yours, chosen one. Stewardship begins with awareness. When you recognize the value of what is in your hands, even if it feels small, you activate heaven's multiplication. Many people miss their increase because they ignore their beginnings. They wait for something grand, forgetting that every great harvest begins with a seed so small it is easy to dismiss. But you anointed one are awakening to a higher understanding. You now see that everything entrusted to you carries divine potential. Your skills, your ideas, your opportunities, your relationships, they are not accidental. They are assignments. Treat them with honor, and they will grow. But stewardship also requires discipline. Not the harsh discipline of punishment, but the holy discipline of alignment, keeping your actions consistent with your purpose, your habits consistent with your vision, your choices consistent with your calling. Discipline is how you protect destiny. Discipline is how you turn potential into progress. Discipline is how heaven sees that you are ready for more. Every small act of discipline is a declaration that you refuse to live beneath your calling. Another dimension of stewardship heaven wants you to embrace is intentional planning. Wealth does not grow by accident. It grows through strategy. Destiny does not unfold through hope alone. It unfolds through intentional action. Heaven releases revelation, but stewardship turns revelation into reality. This is why you are being called to think ahead, to build structures, to form plans, to take deliberate steps. Strategy does not limit faith. Strategy strengthens faith. It proves that you expect what you prayed for. And chosen one stewardship also means protecting what heaven gives, protecting your time from distractions, protecting your finances from unnecessary drains, protecting your mind from negative voices, protecting your spirit from environments that suffocate growth. Protection is stewardship. When you guard what God gives you, show heaven that you value the assignment. But heaven wants you to understand something even deeper true. Stewardship includes rest. Not laziness, not avoidance, but sacred rest, the kind that restores your spirit, renews your clarity, and reconnects you to divine guidance. Rest is where revelation flows. Rest is where strategy becomes clear. Rest is where anxiety loses its power. Many sabotage their blessing by exhausting themselves into confusion, but you, anointed one, are being taught to steward your energy as much as your resources. Finally chosen. One heaven reveals the highest dimension of stewardship, surrender. The willingness to let God direct your steps, shape your path, reorder your plans, and refine your desires. Surrender is not weakness, it is mastery. It is the recognition that divine wisdom surpasses human strategy. It is the courage to say, I trust the path heaven chooses, even when I don't fully see it. Surrender is the final step of stewardship because it aligns every part of your life with divine purpose. Chosen one, you have been transformed. You have been awakened. You have been prepared. You're no longer the person you were when this journey began. You now carry wisdom, authority, clarity, and spiritual weight. and heaven is ready to entrust you with more because you have become a true steward of destiny. Chosen one. As this message comes to a close, know that heaven has already begun moving on your behalf. You are standing in your Kairos moment, your divinely appointed time, and the supernatural transfer prepared for you is already unfolding. Walk forward with courage, with clarity, and with the quiet confidence of one who is anointed for increase. May wisdom guide you, may favor surround you, and may every seed you steward rise into overflow. Stay aligned, stay expectant, and if this word stirred your spirit, share it, so others may rise with you. The blessing has begun. Step into it.